پر محمد وآل محمد صلوات صلی علی محمد وآل محمد وجل فرج.
بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. عن جابر بن عبد اللہ الانصاری انہ قال عن فاطمۃ الزہراء علیہ السلام بنت رسول اللہ صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ قال سمعت فاطمۃ انہا قال دخل علی برسول اللہ فی بعض الایام فقال السلام علیک یا فاطمۃ فقلت علیک السلام قال انی اجد فی بدنی ضعفا فقلت له اعیذک باللہ یا بتاه من الضعف فقال یا فاطمۃ ایتینی بالکساء الیمانی فغطینی به فغطیته بالکساء الیمانی فغطیته به وصرت انظر الیہ واذا وجهه یتلألأ کأنه البدر فی لیلۃ تمامہ وکمالہ.
اللهم صل علی محمد وآل محمد وجل فرج.
فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسن قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت عليك السلام يا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله فقلت نعم إن جدك تحت الكساء فأقبل الحسن نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه يا رسول الله أتذن لي أن أدخل معك تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا صاحب غلطي قد أذنت لك فدخل معه تحت الكساء. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فما كانت إلا ساعة وإذا بولد الحسين قد أقبل وقال السلام عليك يا أماه فقلت وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا قرة عيني وثمرة فؤادي فقال لي يا أماه إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة جد رسول الله صلی اللہ علیہ وآلہ فقلت نعم إن جدك وأخاك تحت الكساء فدنا الحسين نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا جداه السلام عليك يا من اختاره الله أتذن لي أن أكون معكما تحت الكساء فقال وعليك السلام يا ولدي ويا شافع أمتي قد أذنت لك فدخل معهما تحت الكساء. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فأقبل عند ذلك أبو الحسن علي بن أبي طالب وقال السلام عليك يا بنت رسول الله فقلت عليك السلام يا أبا الحسن ويا أمير المؤمنين فقال يا فاطمة إني أشم عندك رائحة طيبة كأنها رائحة أخي وابن عمي رسول الله فقلت نعم ها هو مع ولديك تحت الكساء فأقبل علي نحو الكساء وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله أتذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال له وعليك السلام يا أخي ويا وصي وخليفتي وصاحب لوائي قد أذنت لك فدخل علي تحت الكساء. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
ثم آتيت نحو الكساء وقلت السلام عليك يا أبتاه يا رسول الله أتذن لي أن أكون معكم تحت الكساء قال وعليك السلام يا بنتي ويا بضعتي
محمد وآل محمد.
فلما اكتملنا جميعا تحت الكساء أخذ بي رسول الله بطرف الكساء وأومأ بيده اليمنى إلى السماء وقال اللهم إن هؤلاء أهل بيتي وخاصتي وعامتي لحمهم لحمي ودمهم دمي يؤلمني ما ويحزنني ما يحزنهم أنا حرب لمن حاربهم وسلم لمن سالمهم وعدو لمن عاداهم ومحب لمن أحبهم إنهم مني وأنا منهم فاجعل صلواتك وبركاتك ورحمتك وغفرانك ورضوانك علي وعليه وأصرف عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال الله عز وجل يا ملائكتي ويا سكان السماوات إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مطوية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا في محبة هؤلاء الخمسة الذين هم تحت الكساء. فقال الأمين جبرائيل يا رب ومن تحت الكساء. فقال عز وجل هم أهل بيت النبوة ومعبر الرسالة هم فاطمة وأبوها وبقلها وبنوها.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال جبرائيل يا رب أتذن لي أن أهبط إلى الأرض لأكون معهم سادسا. فقال الله نعم قد أذنت لك. فهبط الأمين جبرائيل وقال السلام عليك يا رسول الله العلي الأعلى يقرئك السلام ويخصك بالتحية والإكرام ويقول لك وعزتي وجلالي إني ما خلقت سماء مبنية ولا أرض مطوية ولا قمرا منيرا ولا شمسا مضيئة ولا فلكا يدور ولا بحرا يجري ولا فلكا يسري إلا لأجلكم ومحبتكم وقد أذن لي أن أدخل معكم فهل تأذن لي يا رسول الله؟ فقال رسول الله وعليك السلام يا أمين وحي الله إنه نعم قد أذنت لك. فدخل جبرائيل معنا تحت الكساء. صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال لأبي فقال لأبي إن الله قد أوحى إليكم يقول إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
فقال علي لأبي يا رسول الله أخبرني ما لجلوسنا هذا تحت الكساء من الفضل عند الله. فقال النبي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبين إلا ونزلت عليهم الرحمة وحفت بهم الملائكة واستغفرت لهم إلى أن يتفرقوا. فقال علي نزل الله فزنا وفاز شيعتنا ورب الكعبة. فقال النبي ثانيا يا علي والذي بعثني بالحق نبيا واصطفاني بالرسالة نجيا ما ذكر خبرنا هذا في محفل من محافل أهل الأرض وفيه جمع من شيعتنا ومحبين وفيهم مهموم إلا وفرج الله همه ولا مهموم إلا وكشف الله غمه ولا طالب حاجة إلا وقضى الله حاجته. فقال علي نزل الله فزنا وسقطنا وكذلك شيعتنا فازوا وسقطوا في الدنيا والآخرة ورب الكعبة. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعجل فرجهم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. اللہم انی اسألک بحق محمد وانت المحمود وبحق علی وانت العلی وبحق فاطمة وانت فاطر السماوات والارض وبحق الحسن وانت المحسن وبحق الحسین وانت قدیم الاحسان وبحق الائمة التسعة الطاہرین من ذریة الحسین علیہم السلام. اللہم صل علی محمد وآل محمد.
بر محمد وآل محمد صلوات.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
الفاتحہ. اعوذ باللہ السمیع العلیم من الشیطان اللعین الرجیم. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. الحمد للہ الذی ہدانا لہذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا ان هدانا الله لقد جاءت رسل ربنا بالحق الصلاة والسلام على رسول الثقلين محبوب رب المشرقين والمغربين جد الحسن والحسين أبي القاسم محمد
اللهم صل على محمد وآل
وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم أجمعين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فقد قال الله سبحانه تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد والفرقان الحميد. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين وصلوات محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد.
We are on the topic of Ziyarat Ashura in the light of the Quran. Because the practice of a religion is associated with the Quran. And often people have these doubts in their minds. Okay, where is Ziyarat Ashura? Where is so and so thing? Where is Azadari? Whatever we are doing, where is it? Is it a reality, or are these just, ritualistic practices? No, they are the realities. And I have been for years, I've been working on it to bring to your notice that whatever we are doing, it is a practice of the Quran and it is not out of the Quran. There are so many secrets of the Quran and not everybody can get that secret. There are so many things, in any nation that their secrets, only very few are allowed to go to it. Not everybody. It is not in everybody's hand or not everybody's caliber to understand it or to reach it. The criteria here in the world is being your status. And the criteria in the Iman being the taqwa or the love of the Halal Bait. Maula Ali is known as Imam-e Muttaqiyan. So the more do you had, love him, the more purity your heart attains. And the more the pure your purity, your heart attains, the more closer you get to the Quran. In Surah Waqia, one ayat is very obvious and says, none shall touch it save the purified ones. La yamassahu illal mutahhar. So naturally, only the pure ones. It's not talking about the text of the Quran or the book of the Quran, which is a physical, but it means that none shall understand it unless you attain purity. So when there is everything in the Quran and we cannot see anything in the Quran, that means we are wearing wrong sort of glasses. We are not seeing with the view of the Halal Bait. We are not seeing with the view that Allah wants us to see. The Quran has come down through Muhammad and Wale Muhammad. It came down, it was revealed on our Prophet. Then whatever it is till today, they are the saviors, they are the protectors, the imams. And they are the practical part of the Quran. Whatever the Quran says, they enact upon it. Because if these perfect enactions or deeds are not there, then it will be totally dissolved when people like us, sinners, imperfect ones, and somebody, there are others who want to cause evil. If they start mispracticing or misinterpreting, then everything will be dissolved. There would be no Quran left with you all. So Allah has left a person. It is said in one of the sayings I had read somewhere that near the zuhur of the Imam, the ink of all the Quran is going to get blurred and it's finally going to be wiped away. So it means whatever is in the text, there will be no understanding for the people. But Allah has got the Imam, who is the personification of the verses of the Quran. So there is no worry about that. People may, na'uzubillah, they may do behurmati with the book, they may burn it, or they may do whatever with it they like, but they cannot burn the holiness of that book. The message of that book cannot be blocked because Allah has made that the nature of the Imams. The nature of Imam. Man is always to come over himself. Then only he becomes a human being. That is the category of a human being. That's what Imam Hussain al-Islam has taught us. So reading of Ziyarat Ashura every day, though it is very important, and the marjas, I have done the marjas who have been passed away from this world. When people dream about them, they say that this was the best worship. Wish we had prayed the ziyarat more than once in a day. So reading this, the text itself gives you lot of good. There are emanations of lots of purity and holiness in the names itself of the Aima and in the message that Ziyarat Ashura gives. But besides it, it builds you up in your faith. When you read what you understand and read, then naturally every day you get to learn a little. And then one day you suddenly know. I'm saying all this because see, we are people far away from the language, Arabic language. We understand only the translations, or we get lessons only when there are Muharram and all those things. So naturally, effort has to be on everybody's side to move closer to God. He's always with you. We are just neglecting him. So coming back to Ziyarat Ashura, Ziyarat Ashura, has shown a lot of influence of women on society. Ziyarat Ashura shows a lot of influence of women in the society. And there are two women specifically mentioned in here. One is Marjana and second is Hinda. Hinda is not mentioned by the name, but she is mentioned as the one who chewed the liver of Hamza. I was doing it with y'all 2-3 days back. And the second is Ibn Marjana, the son of Marjana. Okay, that is the sons of the one who chewed the liver. And here it is the son of Marjana. Marjana is a lady. Marjana is not a man. And her husband's name was Ziyad. And Ibn Ziyad was their son. And when once he was the one who stood up, he just wanted to, put, something that Maula Ali couldn't answer, when he said that I can answer everything. And he was the one who stood up and he said, how many hair do I have? You must have heard it so many times. So many times. How many hair do I have on my scalp? So Maula Ali said, I can give you the number, but you cannot count it. And he said, remember one thing. He said, at every hair that grows in your hair, that every pore of your hair from that hair comes out is a Satan. Is a Satan. And there is a lamb in your house. There is a lamb in your house. That is Ibn Ziyad himself, Ziyad's son. His name was Ubaidullah. Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad. So Ubaidullah, there's one lamb in your house who is going to be in the army of Yazid, and who is going to be responsible for the killing of Imam Hussein. He had predicted so many years ago, before the Shahadat of Imam. So see, the thing is that the Quran also relays to you the future. And the Imams also, they talk about the future. Just yesterday, I was talking about the moon, which Imam Jafar Islam said that you will never reach the correct moon till the revenge of the blood of Imam Hussein has been taken. You will never reach that day. You will never achieve. So achieve, when we lose achievements, it is only because of our own wrongdoings. Barakat of Allah is everywhere. Rahmat of Allah is everywhere. It is we who do it. So now recognizing the wrong from the right. That is what is Ziyarat Ashura. And as in Ziyarat Ashura, the Quran is also much influenced. There's so much of influence of women in the Quran. When Allah talks about the bees, when Allah talk about the ants, when Allah talks about the spider, they are all named in the female form, in female gender. These are, when you say namlati, or when you say ankabut, or when you say nehelatin, these are all female. So now naturally, when Allah is calling, and we know that they have their colonies, and they have, they are the ones who work hard to build up their societies, and they keep them intact, and they keep them united, and they keep them pure, so that the progenation is also, it goes ahead, and also they are saved from others. Who had saved the ants in the anthills? It was one, the queen. She said, no, Suleiman is coming. Come on, let's go back into our anthills. So see, she wants the protection of her society, of her, she wants a well-being of her community. She wants her nation to progress. So that is generally her nature when Allah teaches us through the insects. But otherwise also, the intellect is brought forth. The intellect of brought forth. I'll tell you some things, what happens when some people read, one, two verses of the Quran, or read something in the Nahjul Balagha. They say, oh my God, Maula is talking like that about a woman. And there's something, like the slithering of the skin, there's how, slithering of the snake, how it is, it is beautiful. Like, that is the touch of the woman. Maula Ali described in somewhere. So, okay, that is a snake, right? So that is for a poisonous woman. Not for every woman. Okay, you see what the Quran is talking about. You see the intellect. You see what when Janabi Bilqis was called, she was tested. She was tested by Janabi Sulaiman, and the two tests she was put through were: one was, is this your throne? And second is when she was made to walk on the palace. So he also put her through test, and he found her very intellectual, and he married her. Sulaiman was a prophet. And when in the Quran, the criterion, as I told you, that none can touch it save the purified ones. I gave you only one version of taharat and purity. What is the second version of, or rather the first version of purity? Is that okay, when Allah calls onto taharat and sends the verse of purity, He makes Bibi Sayyada the center of that taharat, center of the taharat. So when you bring these two ayat together, the ayat tathir and the ayat that none can touch the Quran save the purified ones, what is the conclusion? The conclusion is that that purity belongs to Bibi Sayyada, and that she is the essence of the Quran. So if you do not have that essential of purity, you are not going to understand what the Quran is. Allah has given the essence of, Allah called the essence of the Quran is purity, and the essence of purity is Bibi Sayyada. So now coming back, there is a surah in the Quran which talks about the enemies of the prophet. And when it talks about the enemy, I'll read out to y'all, though I read it every day, but when I read in front of y'all, I get very scared of you. Okay, it's called Suratul Qalam. And Suratul Qalam is one surah that swears by the intelligence. What does a pen means? Pen means education. Pen means literacy. So when Allah swears by the pen, it is all for the literal people. Okay, all for the people who have understanding, not those people who called that the prophet was nauzubillah illiterate. What do you call these people? And for the sanity of Rasulullah, this Allah is giving this promise, this oath is for the sanity of Rasulullah and for the bounties of Rasulullah, which are unending. That's what it says. See, it says Noon wal qalam wama yastarun wa innaka la ajran ghayra mamnun. For you is unending bounties. Allah is referring to the prophet, not you and me. He is referred over here. Therefore, you are unending boundaries. And then it says, ma anta be nemati rabbika be majnun. It is the grace of your Lord that you are nauzubillah, not insane. So, what came against the insanity? What they were saying that Rasulullah was? The pen, the education. Now, whenever you hear that he was unlearned, then you have to just understand that these people are most unlearned. These people are the most illiterate. They may be the most educated people in the world, but the Quran calls them illiterate. Okay, by swearing by the pen, and then he is on the highest pedestal of character. And then I want to Allah, in this surah, He names these people and give them bad names. Bad names doesn't mean that Allah calls anybody bad. It is the haqq, what they actually are. That's what we call haqq. No, whatever you are, Allah is going to call you by name. So Allah is saying, "Fala tuti'il mukazzibin." Do not follow the liars. Now these people are the liars. I have skipped some ayats from in between and I've moved ahead in Surah Qalam. It's a beautiful surah. And saying, do not follow the mukazzibin. And if you are soft, they want you to become soft towards them. And do not do that. Then they will all become soft towards you. So do not relent to them in their wrongdoings. So do not follow the liars. And then it says, do not follow the ones who make oaths for little things or weak oaths. When we make an oath actually means, I told you, oath is ashhadan la ilaha illallah. So that is the heaviest and the strongest thing that you do. It's your faith. And these people are making oaths every day. कसमें खाते हैं. कसमें खाते तो महीन कसमें इनकी, मतलब बहुत छोटी, बहुत कमजोर, पल में तोड़ देते हैं. तो झूठों के पीछे नहीं जाना और नहीं उनकी बात मानना कि जो अपनी कसमों में हल्के हैं. हम्माजिन मशाइन बेनमीम. हम्माज, what does हम्माज mean? They spread stories. And first we used to think the one who spread the stories are those evil women who are sitting in the house and they're not doing anything and they're gossiping about everybody. But here you see the internet is the worst Hamas. the wrong news, the bad news, which creates marks on people's characters. It brings down their name and fame. So we're saying hamazin, masha'in, benamin, they indulge into malicious gossip. Manna'in li khairi, mutadin asim, their inclination is towards wealth. They love the well. And then it's saying, Motadin Asim, they are the transgressing sinners. You're understanding? Allah is calling these names. Allah is calling these names to whom? To those people who were calling the Prophet an illiterate. And Allah is saying, I'm swearing by the pen that He is the most sane and the most intellectual. And Allah calls those people who were calling insane, that they are liars, that they are, the ones who spread, malicious gossips. They love the wealth. They are the, transgressing sinners. Utlin bada zalika zanim. I want you to get your here. Utlin means very rude. You see the face and you do not like it. They are always very wicked with their face. As soon as they open their mouths, they are going to say something bad to anybody. So that is that utalin means cruel, rude, and bada zalika zanin. Beside being cruel, they are also zanin. Zanin means baseball. As we say in English, born out of the wedlock. So Allah is talking about Zanin over here, that the one who calls the Prophet this name, he has all these bad qualities in him. And he said, worst of all, worst of all is that he is a Zanin. He hates people, he's rude to people. And most of all, because, Rasulullah is all purity and he is all impurity. He cannot take that purity. And this is the hadith of Rasulullah for Maula Ali. That, who will love you, who will not love you. So he said, who will not love you is the one who is a munafiq, but the one who is a mixed gender. And the third one, he said, third one who is not going to love you is an illegitimate. So this is the hadith of Rasulullah, and this is the Quran I just read out to you. Now I said there are two women over there which are mentioned. One was mentioned as Marjana. Though his father's name is Ziyad, he's mentioned by Marjana, Ibn Marjana, and we openly give lanat on Ibn Marjana because this man was also born out of wedlock, and she had to call a team of men to recognize whose son he was, and even Yazid had the doubts that he may be my stepbrother. And he had promised him the Ray government. Say, if you get me the head of Hussein, and I will give you the government of Ray, the province of Ray. Ray was today Iran. Okay. So, when he had come in front of Maula Ali, in front of Imam Hussein al-Islam, he said, you will not get a single wheat grain from Ray. Don't kill me. I am telling you. And that is what he was condemned, and he was killed after with Mukhtar. He didn't have one day of rest after that. So even Imam Hussein al-Islam had told him. And when, why he, who called him Ibn Marjana? It was Bibi Zainab who called him Ibn Marjana in the court. And that is what we have got in the Ziyarat Ashura. We call him Ibn Ziyad also and Ibn Marjana also. This man is called by both the names in the Ziyarat Ashura. He was so wicked. He was so evil. He was a Satan. And see, when the children were in front of him, all hungry and all thirsty, and Bibi Zainab was in front of him, and he was, passing comments, and he was eating his food and drinking his wine, and, taunting the halal bites. And at that time, when he was questioning, and, Bibi Zainab was answering him. And that time she had called him Ibn Marjana. O son of Marjana. So mother is a tag for everybody, and she used the Quranic name. She followed the Quranic code, of course, where, Isa ibn Maryam. So that is the purest. That is the purest. Allah has saved, Allah, one of the reasons that Allah is going to call people by their mother's name on the day of judgment is that He wants to save the shame of the women also. Some people do say that He wants to, save the face of the mother. But, Bibi Zainab, these are such cruel ones that Bibi, and she was well known for what she was doing around in Arabia. Hinda was also very known for that now in so many open words. Because this is a member, I cannot talk about it. But history is history. And whatever Ziyarat is saying, I just want to explain to you what is said about it. And Bibi Zainab called him by the name of Ibn Marjana because this Ziyarat has been coming for years. And Rasulullah had this Ziyarat even before the Shahadat of Imam Hussain. So naturally, to make it realize that who this Marjana is, he should not go unrecognized. That's why she named it Marjana. That you are a son of a mother with low character. And second woman that was named in the Ziyarat is Hinda, the one who Hinda is not given, but one who chewed the liver. Even when you come in Surah Tahrim, the two women who troubled Rasulullah, name is not given. It is left upon you to understand. Allah wants to test your faith. Why does not Allah name some things? So when anybody says, who chewed the liver? The chewing of the liver? Can you imagine what sort of a woman she was? And she was the one who was playing the drums in front of the wars, and she was inciting the warriors with all sort of wrong things and wrong speeches. And she was the one who was the grandmother of Yazid. Grandmother of Yazid. So here we got a mother of an evil person, and there we got a grandmother of Yazid. And she is the worst woman because she not only that was not enough. She had sent Habshi to kill Janabe Hamza. But killing Janabe Hamza was not enough for her. She said, open his chest and take out his liver. And can you imagine when Rasulullah had seen his uncle in this state? Can you imagine what he went through? What he went through, she tried to chew it. She couldn't chew it. She threw it off. She used to wear the necklaces of the ears and the noses of the dead people in her neck. What sort of a person she was. And that is what is mentioned. We give lanat on the sons of Hinda. That is Mawiyah also. And that is Yazid also. And so when you hear all these things, in the Quran also, it is mentioned that, the lady who incited the man in the nation of Saleh to kill the camel, to hamstrung the camel, she was Qattama. She was also a lady. And the lady, the same name was given to the one who incited Ibn Muljim to kill Maula Ali. So we have these characters. We have it, two of them are there in the in Ziyarat Ashura. Then we get so many in the Quran also. And then, Rasulullah gives a statement, Allah gives a statement, openly. Utlin bada zalika zanin. That not only they are cruel and rude, but they are base born. They are illegitimate. And, when you read the Surah Tahrim, you get to hear about 6 women. You get to that surah is all about women. And how they got appraised and uplifted in their lives and how they were damned. And then Allah talks about openly telling Rasulullah, Okay, what is made halal on you, why do you make it haram on yourself? That was the nature of the Prophet. The wives were very bad, but he wouldn't tell them anything. He wouldn't divorce them. He had so much of, a soft heart. They were planning against him. That's what the Quran says. Tehrim, read Surah Tehrim. In the Majlis, we cannot read the Quran and do word to word. But y'all can read, ponder upon it. So there were two wives. Allah openly says two wives who harassed him, who planned against him. And he was still not divorcing them. So Allah is questioning him. Allah is saying, why aren't you leaving them? I have made the, divorce halal on you. Why are you making it? Tahrim means what only? That only. You make it haram on yourself. So divorce them and you will get better. So Allah is talking about two ladies who are so close to the best creation of God. So can you imagine how worst they are? It is just the opposite. It is just the opposite. And of course, Allah states that also, because of that chance that you had to, live with that, a prophet. So naturally, you are going to get punishment that is double down. Because they were always with him. And then Allah talks about two more ladies in the Quran. And he talks about the wife of Nuh and the wife of Lut. And they were just, Allah said, they were just with our prophets. They were with my prophets. And my prophets were guiding them. And still, they went against the prophets. So, they went against Allah. So, naturally, what happened? One was drowned. And the other was, she turned into a stone, whatever. She was left behind. That's what Quran says. But when you read tafsir, you get so many different versions of it. Now coming back, in the end of the surah, talks about two good ladies. 4 are over now. Now, two good ladies, Allah is talking about Bibi Asiya. And Allah is talking about Bibi Maryam. Now, these two bibis are unique bibis. Now, see, Allah just said that they were under my prophets, under the guidance of my prophets. And they still went against guidance. And here is saying that she was the wife of Pharaoh. And it is mentioned in the surah, the wife of Amratul Fir'aun. Means wife of Fir'aun. So she was the wife of Fir'aun, the worst man of his time. And she was the best lady of her time. So there are all sort of, you cannot say the males are better or the females are better. But the influence, I'm talking about what influence they have on society. On society. The same thing, how they influence. We do not know or we do not, if you see those, movies that are made nowadays in Iran, they make those historical movies about all these things. You'll come to know more about them if you cannot read history, that is. Otherwise, the books are full of what these people have done. They spoiled the whole society. It was Rasulullah who came and who purified humanity and the lineages of humanity. So naturally, these people were against all this. So now coming back to Bibi Asiya, what was her thing? What was her thing? So though she was, Allah blessed her so much. And what was the blessing for her? Because she told Allah, Allah give me nijat from Fir'aun and his unjust people. Zalimin. Even Fir'aun was a zalim, and even his people were zalim. They were unjust. So she said, I don't want to be a part of them anymore. She was their queen. You give me nijat from them. So when she wanted to come out of that, it was very difficult. And she prayed for that. And she told Allah, give me a home near you. She got it. And then comes the last Bibi. And the last Bibi is Bibi Maryam. I'm taking you to one point. Last Bibi is Bibi Maryam. And Allah talks about her also. And her virtue, her quality was that, for her chastity. She kept it absolutely pure. She was brought up in a holy place where there were, an atmosphere of holiness, of Torah being prayed, and of a masjid. And masjid, which masjid? We are talking about the masjid of Baitul Muqaddas, where she stayed, and she was completely, isolated. when she was completely isolated with humanity, even the food that she had came from Allah, and she did not meet anybody. When she was so isolated, she was so pure. Allah said, because she was so pure, that we, gave her a son without a husband. We blew our spirit into her, and she became the mother of Isa. She became the mother of Isa. So whatever they got because of what they did. Of what they did. So, now when, Isa, when Isa and, Ibi Bibi Sayyid, and we say, often it is said, some of our very prominent, ulamas have said that the grave of Bibi Sayyada is in Qom. Nobody knows, it's a secret. Some have said it, and we cannot claim everything, but it is said that because Imam Jafar Sadiq al-Islam, if you want to do the ziyarat of Janab Sayyida, you have to go to Qom. So it is just associated. It may be true. Okay, it's a secret, I'm saying. So now, actually, why is she there and why is she not in Medina? Because she did not want it to be surrounded by the Zalim. Okay, that is what Asiya wanted. That is what Asiya wanted. And then comes the, virtue of Maryam, that she was so chaste, so pure, so isolated, so holy, that Allah blew his spirit into her and she got one Isa. But Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein are greater in status than Janabe Isa because of the mother. Of course, they're the Imam also, but because of their mother also. Their mother has got the qualities of all the Bibis and much more. That's why she's not mentioned in the Quran. Her name is not mentioned, but every attribute and virtue you read of every woman in the Quran belongs to Janab Sayyida. And I told you that she is the essence of purity, and purity is the essence of the Quran. So Allah has kept her as the criterion. Allah has kept her the criterion of, going to heaven, of learning the right and the wrong. You know what does Fatima means? Fatima actually means weaning. Wean away. And when the mother weans away a baby from her breast milk, she never feeds him back. The child is weaned, and now he grows or she grows. They grow up on their own. So that is what she is going to wean away people from hell. And that weaning, they can never go back to, hell. Now, as I said, Allah has made, given to her a meher. Given to her a meher. And that meher is salt. Namak or pani. Salt and water. In this world belong to her. When I was small, my father used to tell one story. And he used to tell that there was a king who had 7 daughters. Very short, 1 minute, I'll tell you. Just for you to make understand. So he used to say that he used to have 7 daughters. He used to love them all. And one day when he called them and he said, come on, tell me how much do you love me? So each girl started answering, I love you more than this world. I love you more than the sun. I love you more than your kingdom. I love you more than, all exaggerating. More than the moon. So he was so happy. He was, giving them gifts and gifts and gifts and gifts and gifts. And when the 7th one came, she said, you are to me as dear as salt. He abandoned her. He sent her into the jungle and let her go wherever she wants. I don't want to see this child's face. And when she grew up to be a queen, and then she called up her father. Her father doesn't know who it is. And she prepared a banquet of food from the best chefs in the world. And he came to sit. But in every dish, there was no salt. And they were so well prepared and so beautiful that he started tasting one after the other, one after the other, one after the other, one after the other. When the last dish was tasted, she took out the curtains and she came in front of him. And when he saw her, he went ahead and he hugged her. He said, what you told was the reality. Everything else was exaggerated. It was not the truth. So that is what is the salt. It is the necessity of our life. We don't need kingdoms. Even the Quran says, that once you eat the food from anybody's house, it was a system, a custom in Arabia, that if they eat food from a particular house, they are not going to fight against that family. And that's why Ibrahim got very scared when the angels came with a good news and a bad news. The good news of the birth of Ismail, birth of Ishaq, and the bad news of the people of Lut, that they are going to be punished. So when the angels came to his house, he always had the habit of putting a big sufra in front of them. And when they said to eat, they did not eat the food, because angels do not eat. They did not eat the food, so he got very scared. He thought that these are my enemies. That is why not they're tasting my salt. Because if they taste my salt, they have to be namak halal to me. They cannot fight with me. That is what Allah has made Bibi Sayyida. He has given her the salt. That whoever tastes that salt has to adhere to her love, and to the love of her children. That is what we call namak halali. We have to be namak halal to them. Whatever is for us has come from them. So when you read the Ziyarat Ashura, you say, no, Assalamu alayka ya Aba Abdullah, Assalamu alayka ya Ibna Rasulallah, Assalamu alayka ya Ibna Amir al-Mu'mineen, Assalamu alayka ya Ibn Fatimatu Zahrai, Sayyidatin Nisa'il Alameen. And then again in the center of the Ziyarat, again you read her name. When you read the names of all the males of a family, okay, oh Allah, I seek nearness to you, ataqarrabu, I need qurbat to you, I want to come to you, nearness to you, through Rasul Allah, through Maula Ali. And then Bibi Sayyada is again mentioned, and then are mentioned Hassan and Hussein. So see, she is that part of the Quran, which you do not see, which you do not understand. Same as the perfume of a rose. You can see the rose, but can you see the smell? You can feel the smell. Okay, she is the breath of all this world. And that is why Allah named her with Fatur Samawati wal Ars. The recognition of the heavens and the lands is with her. Without her, there is nothing. That's why she is going to be on the day of judgment. It is going to be her who is going to come for shafa'at of everyone. And you know what she's going to carry in her hands? She's going to carry a blood-stained shirt of Janabi Ali Azhar. A blood-stained shirt of Janabi Ali Azhar, and she's going to appeal to Allah. And she said, Allah, what about the nation who killed my children? What are you going to do today? Where is justice? How am I going to judge? How are you going to do this judgment? And see that what is done, you cannot go back and undo it, right? So naturally, you do something which is better than that. So then Allah says, there was a day when Hussein was killed. But there are days where people are coming and crying for him and mourning for him and commemorating all his memories. So Allah says, for them, it is that who have cried. Now there are going to be thousands and lakhs and millions of Shias who love the son of Bibi Sayyada. So he said, this is what I am going to punish the nation and put them into heaven, but to appease your heart. To appease your heart. So if we enter heaven, it is only because of the appeasement of the heart of Bibi Sayyada, that we were with your son. We are with you in this tragedy. That is the thing that is going to take you into paradise. And now a few minutes for the Masayib. Today we pray the Masayib of Janabe Ali Asghar. And I was telling you in the morning, these are most touching, words and our what do you call, a shahada that could never be forgotten. It could never be forgotten. I read in one of the books that the time that the shahadat of Janabe Ali Asghar took place, the ones whose heart are pure, when any, you know, disservice is done or injustice is done in the world, their hearts come to know and they become sad. They do not know what it is. Same as the heavens and the earth are also like that. If there is injustice, they are disturbed, they get disturbed. So even a human heart is like that. But because when we grow up, there are veils and veils that are drawn between us and the reality of understanding everything, and we go away from all our real original self. But a baby is a natural self. A baby is a natural self. It is said that the day Janabe Ali Asghar was killed, the time that Janabe Ali Asghar was killed, there were thousands of babies in Egypt who started crying. There were thousands of babies at one time. They started crying, and their mothers could not give them any consolence. No, they would just keep crying. The whole, state was worried that what has happened to this, and this continued for 40 days. This continued for 40 days. So you can imagine what a tragedy it is that it was felt by each and every particle on this earth. It was felt by the heavens, the earth. And in the morning also, I was reading that Imam Hussein had the baby in his hand, and the baby, he pulled out the arrow from the neck of the baby. For me to pray it, it's very easy. But what was that moment for our Imam? What did he feel at that time? He was all alone. All his support, they had all gone. His sons, his nephews, his brothers. There was nobody with him except the ladies of the house. And he was, handling, how to, handle it. Of course, he's an imam. There is no doubt. But the epitome of patience, you see, when Allah says, seek help through me, He said, Ista'inu bis sabre was salat. He said, seek help. You want help from me? Seek it with patience. And then He said, after patience, Allah said, salat. He said, namaz. This is what we call patience. He kept his patience, and he went beyond the tents, and very quietly and very secretly he buried his baby. Now, what was the reason? There were so many martyrs in Karbala, but Imam Hussein, nowhere have you read that he buried the martyrs. No, they were just brought into the Ganj Shahida, and they were kept. They were not buried. So now, naturally, when he buried the baby, the thing is, he knew that after the martyrdom of Imam Hussein himself, they would behead the bodies, and they would place the heads like trophies on their lances, and they would move. And he knew that Rabab would not be able to see it. Rabab would not be able to see. That's why he did not get the baby to her. She would not be able to see it. So he hid that baby. But when, Ashura, on the day of Ashura, when they were collecting the heads of all the martyrs, what did Umar Saad say? He says, we have killed 72. There are only 71 heads. Where is the 72nd one? And everybody started saying, just let it go, let it be. It was Imam Hussein's small baby, 6-month-old baby. Maula has buried him somewhere secretly, and he does not want that baby to be beheaded. He doesn't want it. So he said, no, I am not going to listen. I want that 72nd head. Said, how do we search it in such a big ground? He said, take your lances and prick the earth with it. Dig the earth with it. And from wherever a body comes out, that is the body of Janabi. And this went for how many times? There were soldiers and soldiers doing this. And Bibi Rabab, how much could people hold her? And all this news was around, that they are looking for the 72nd body, and that is the body of Janabe Ali Asghar. She came near the door of her tent, and she saw that suddenly in one glance was a small body of Janabe Ali Asghar. And Fizza tried to cover her up and hug her. He said, "Era baap, tere bacche ki khair, tere bacche ki khair." But those people, may, lakhs of lanat of Allah be on them. They severed the head, beheaded Janabi Ali Asghar, and that they put the small baby's head on the legs. Allah lanatullahi alal qawm zalim. Matame Hussain.
Hussein, Hussein.